In this video, we're gonna focus on site scouting and location scouting for interview videos. So if this is a video that's going to include talking head interviews, testimonial videos, maybe something for your brand film, you're gonna wanna check this out. We're gonna explore some of the things we're looking for in a site scout. So first, little internet sleuthing definitions. In film production, location scouting is finding places to shoot commercials, television shows, or movies. A location manager, or scout, searches for interior or exterior venues to serve as the setting for scenes depicted in a script. Location scouting is an important part of the pre-production process. That Googling came from Masterclass, and you're in one right now.
This class is in session. Sit! Move it!
So let's say our brand film or commercial is calling for talking head interviews. So we are going to take key stakeholders from your organization, sit them down and interview them about your organization. So what are some of the things we're looking for in a space when we're filming this type of content? So number one, we're looking at sound. Sound is arguably the most important thing you're trying to capture on set. So when we're doing a site scout, the first question we're going to ask is, what are some of the exterior noise pollutants that you're going to be dealing with, right? There's a lot of times on set where police siren goes by, and I don't care if you're in a skyscraper at the top of the 55th floor, you're still going to hear that, and you're going to have to pause your talent to wait for that sound to pass. The second question we're going to ask are, what are some of the interior noise pollutants that you're going to be dealing with, right? If you have reception right next to where we're going to be filming.
Thunder Mifflin, this is Pam.
Please be quiet.
An elevator that's opening up and closing, maybe a conference room nearby where people are going to be having meetings and they're going to be coming in and out of that hallway. You can put signs up all day and ask people to be quiet, but most people I find really don't understand how quiet you got to whisper to make sure you're not interfering with the production. And generally it's going to cause us to have to stop the talent from the interview, ask people to be quiet in the hallways, right? So if we can pick an area of the office that's kind of insulated from that, that's something we're always going to be looking for. The third question we're going to ask on a site scout is, can you control your HVAC? One of the things that you really want to have when you're thinking about sound is consistency, right? If you have a little bit of a noise floor in there, let's say you're in a trade show and you're hearing sort of the milling about of people and you can just hear that hum in the back of the room, that's okay as long as it's consistent. We're coming back to the office and thinking about air conditioning. Your thermostat is going to adjust based on the room temperature. And if the room temperature hits temp, the thermostat will turn off your HVAC. That wind noise through the ductwork is going to stop, right? So in the middle of our video, you're going to hear, and then when it kicks back on, you get the drift.
Hey, what was that?
So that's something that we're looking for. If you can control the HVAC in the space, you can avoid that sound issue. If you can't control the HVAC, generally building maintenance can. So as long as you put in that order ahead of time, they're going to be able to set the temperature in that room. You also want to look at the dynamics of the room, right? If you have a room with hardwood floors and an unforgiving ceiling that might have a really hard substance, you're going to have a lot of bounce and reverb. It's just really tough to reduce that echo. You end up having to bring in sound blankets and other things to sort of surround the space to reduce that sound. So just something to think about from the sound perspective, your exterior noise, your interior noise, your control over certain elements within the space, and of course, the sound quality of the room that you're in. Moving on from sound, we're going to talk about your space. So often we have clients that say, hey, no worries, you can just use our big conference room, right? And the problem with that conference room is it has a giant immovable table in the middle of it, right? So one thing to really consider, unless you're going to use the table as a prop and have it in the video, right? Either behind the talent or in the foreground of your shot, that table is significantly reducing the actual usable space of the room that you're in. The next thing we're going to look at is control over lighting. So if you have that big conference room with your big immovable table and lots of windows, right? We need to now think about where the sun rises and sets. We need to think about the timing and logistics around when we're going to be filming our talent. So we make sure that that light pollution is not going to be affecting our shot, or even worse, changing throughout the shot. If you're filming somebody and the room is getting lighter and darker and lighter and darker, now we have a lot less usable footage. It's making it much harder for us to edit in post-production. And if we're stopping the talent every time, really hard to deliver at your best. So if we do have these big windows and we need to control for that light, and we don't have, let's say, built-in blackout shades in your office space, now we're bringing things called flags. We block off that light so that we can control for it, keep the talent consistent, keep the shot consistent so we can allow for them to perform their best. Another thing to consider is power. So if we don't have multiple circuits with a lot of electrical outlets, that can be difficult.
It's fused all right, but it would take all the power of our main phaser banks to do it.
The nice thing is we're mostly working on LED lights now, which have a lot smaller draw on power, but you still want to make sure you're not going to blow out a circuit in the middle of a shoot. So where are we getting outlets? How many outlets do they have? Are they all on the same circuit or are they split up? And knowing that really ensures that we're able to keep our equipment safe and keep the project running smoothly. Another thing to consider is, are we going to be shifting our shot each time we do an interview? So a lot of videos, it's nice to change up the background, mix up the visuals so that it's more interesting for the viewer, but that means resetting your lights each time. If the room that we're being assigned to doesn't allow us to move in more than one or two positions, right? Now we have to consider the logistics around moving all of our equipment to another space, doing this entire stress test that I just talked about of sound, lighting, spatial requirements, et cetera, and power management in another room, and making sure that everything's going to seamlessly move to that space as well. So all of these things that we're discovering in the Site Scout is actually informing what's probably most important and pressing on your mind: budget. If you properly plan for these things, you can account for how long it's going to take to do stuff, and then you're going to avoid going into your second or third day of filming if possible. The last thing I do want to talk about, though, is how we're getting in and out of the building. We got to think about everything from parking to loading docks to where we can store our equipment safely and effectively when we're in the actual space that we're filming, right? So all of those things have to be accounted for in this process, because we don't want to have the stress in the morning of your team and our team battling with someone who's just doing their job, right, at the loading dock, of allowing us access. All of those things are things that we want to explore in this process and ensure that it's a seamless, good production where we can just focus on the interviews we came to capture. If you like this video, please like it. If you think somebody else might like it, please share it with them. Of course, subscribe to our channel so you can see all of the educational content we're producing on video production, and comment below if you have any comments, thoughts, or concerns. Thanks so much. Until next time.